Mm-hmm. Someone give me a sound check, please. Depression, sound check on the depression line. Just a sound check in the chat. Anyone? Thank you, Ron. I could always count on you for my sound technician. So shout out to Ron. We're in the emergency lights. It's not quite an emergency, but this is just a somber evening. Somber evening when you let bad teams stick around for too long. They can, in fact, also find ways to win. And tonight was one of those nights where the Devils allowed the Calgary Flames to linger on. Despite all their chances, they just let them hang in there. And Calgary finds a way to win. The New Jersey Devils fall by a score of 3-0 to the Calgary Flames in a depressing evening. Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your super depressed host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button. Smash the like. Share with a friend. Thank you very much. And I'm in the doldrums, boys and ladies and gentlemen, I should say. Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially in the doldrums. This New Jersey Devils hockey team has taken me on a roller coaster of emotions over the past 72 hours. The highs of the highs, the lows of the lows. We were feeling phenomenal post an absolute destruction of the Vancouver Canucks. And tonight, it all comes crashing down. As you all know on the program, win or lose, we booze. And due to the nature of tonight's loss, coupled with the fact that it is, in fact, Friday night, which is a weekend, we're back to the hard stuff. Tonight is not a post game for beers. Cheers to all my Devils fans. Tonight we are back on the jack. The boys have driven me back to the hard shit. And it's a depressing one. I mean, where do we even begin? I'm not even going to, Devils had tons of chances. Jack with 2 breakaways, couldn't bury one. Mercer comes in on the 2-on-1 and decides to force a pass instead of just ripping it. I mean, there was some other decent chances, but overall, I would say an honestly gutless performance by this New Jersey Devils club. And Jacob Markstrom really deserved a lot more. Cheers to my Devils fans. Wow. I mean, Markstrom deserves so much better in his return to Calgary. He really did. The team deserted him. He played phenomenally. Played shutout hockey for 54 or 55 minutes. And then former New Jersey Devils come back to haunt this Devils club again after keeping it in. Ball just does what you want defensemen to do in games like this. And I said it was going to be an ugly one. I thought to win it, or kind of a fluke play, lucky bounce, whatever. I didn't think it was going to be some beautiful highlight reel goal. And Ball just flings it on net. And what happens? Good things happen when you're the team doing it. And one former New Jersey Devil to the next, Coleman tips it past Markstrom, and that's all they needed. That is your game-winning goal, folks. From 2 former New Jersey Devils, Kevin Ball throwing it towards net, Blake Coleman with the tip. 2 Devils give you that fat L, break the potential 3-game win streak, which would have been, the first time in forever. Obviously, the inconsistency of this New Jersey Devils thing has been something that's been super painful for everybody who's been a fan of the team. And again, it is early in the season, and I do think this team will be good when it's all said and done, but the inconsistency is absolutely killer. We can't string games together, and nights like tonight, it's hard to, it's an indefensible performance. It really is. I mean, after that second period, I did a little impromptu live, and I said this is the 3rd period of the season, and honestly, it was. This early in the season, it's a very important game. After going on that 4-game slide, they finally had a nice one in Anaheim. Against Anaheim at the Rock. Then they go and destroy the Canucks 6-0 in Vancouver. And then to follow it up with an absolutely gutless performance like we saw tonight, with Markstrom doing everything he possibly could and was perfect through 55 minutes before, one of those kind of goals to win the game. Defenseman just flings it on net. Coleman tips it, and that's your night. Squandered chances. and just that will to win just was not there. I mean, oh God, it's just depressing, guys. Honestly, it really is to put together that 3-game winning streak and then be going into Edmonton with the chance to sweep the trip. I mean, I would have been fired up. I just got a bunch of notes here. Let me just oh yeah, so we find out I'm all over the place. Sorry guys. I'm just a lot's going on right now, but coming in from the other game, was it the Anaheim game? Yeah, Curtis Lazar had a, in typical New Jersey Devils medical whatever you want to call it, disclosures or statements, Lazar had a procedure and is out indefinitely. So I jokingly said that could be anything from probably, a few months to a career-ending injury or anything in between when the Devils, divulge these things to the media or whatever. It's obviously always very vague and sketchy. And so we don't really know. I hate to be a doomsdayer, and I hope this is not true, but based on the way it kind of, the way they shared this information, I'm assuming that Lazar's out for the year. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think Lazar's out for the year. Big loss for the Devils and the fourth line, obviously. Dowling gets called up. And tonight, while trying to defend Paul Cotter's honor from a kind of 2-on-1, kind of dangerous hit, the way that all played out, that could have been very dangerous. And Bastian comes flying in trying to be the hero, and instead he gets his ass kicked completely and gets the 2-5-10, 2-minute instigator, 5 for fighting, 10-minute misconduct. I mean, how bad does it get? You put the other team on the power play and get your ass kicked, which, by the way, he never returns from. Something with his jaw, they're saying. And then in the postgame that I caught the Keefe's comments I caught in the last couple seconds right before I jumped on here. It was trailing off, like literally as I was coming on. Someone asked him about Nate's status, and he was like, he's injured. So it is what it is. At this point, the fourth line is basically blown up in the course of less than a week. Lazar out for a long time, if not the season. Bastian, I'm over the Bastian experiment. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I'll always love him for the good times, but and especially when you hit the cutlets at the stadium, that'll be my lasting memory of Nate Bastian. Well, actually, that'd be my last good memory of Bastian. Over time, his shorthanded goal he had this season will probably be, forgotten about for the most part. And the thing I'll remember the most is the cutlets at MetLife Stadium in the Stadium Series game. But the lasting images I'm going to have are when Rempe crumpled him and he was bleeding on the ice last year before we got Curtis McDermott. That was actually the incident that, the straw that broke the camel's back. Then Fitzy went out and got Curtis McDermott because on that same sequence, Rempe crumpled Bastian and then pummeled Siegenthaler when he tried to do something. Fitz saw enough, gets McDermott. But my lasting images of Nate Bastian, unfortunately, are going to be that photo of him crumpled on the ice and kind of bleeding. And tonight of him, and he got the jump on him. I mean, he got the instigator. He had kind of first aggression there. And to just get fed that many shots, I honestly think what happened was he didn't expect the guy to just start with a flurry. And this is credit to him. I mean, the guy was throwing bombs. I think he stunned him with one of the first two. And then Nate never recovered because he got rocked from one early on, and he was just kind of standing there getting his head bashed in. Either way, the fourth line essentially now is completely, non-existent, I would say. Dowling at center, I'm not in love with that long term. I don't think many people would be. And again, tonight, I would say Curtis McDermott needed to be in this game. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of that, and it was funny to see after that whole incident took place. Both Dano and Sal were advocating for Curtis McDermott, like, yeah, it would be nice to have Curtis McDermott out there. Teams play differently when you have a guy like that in the lineup, as Dano and Sal talked about on the broadcast, and your team also just has a different kind of swagger to it. And so I don't know why they keep taking him out. He played great in that Anaheim game. McDermott's got to play more games than he doesn't. I don't know exactly. I'm not saying every single game, but he has to be a commonality on that fourth line. And I would like to see Hallinan maybe called up and get a chance. I want grinders, physical guys on my fourth line. And so Hallinan, I think, could fit that mold and possibly chip in offensively here and there. So I'd like to see Hallinan get a shot. Maybe you see Foote. I would try a few different guys there before I panic and go out and get someone. But in terms of reconstructing that fourth line, I mean, Laser and Bastian have to be put on IR immediately, and you need to spend that money. That's a nice little chunk of money between the two of them. You could go find some guys. Foote's under contract. So, between Laser and Laser and Bastion, that's got to be around $2 million or so. I mean, make something happen. I'll give guys an audition. Listen, I'm all for going to the depth and giving a couple guys a look. But if nothing pans out, I mean, that fourth line is now completely under construction. Your center's gone. Bastion is basically done, in my opinion. And so you now have, Dowling currently slotted to play center. And no disrespect to him. I mean, he's been around for a while. He has 100 some odd NHL games under his belt, I think. But that is not the direction I really would like to see the team be going with for the fourth line going forward. I think that needs to get back to what it originally was supposed to be heading into the season. And everyone's like, that's going to be a fourth line that plays a physical game. And it originally was, if you remember from not too long ago, it was Cotter, Bastion, and Lazar. And as predicted, I said Cotter's not going to get stuck there. He's eventually going to find his way up the lineup. He did, but the fourth line is now a project. The fourth line is a project, but I at this point, once again, I find myself being like, I begged for McDermott after the Detroit game. They put him in for the Islanders. He immediately had an impact on the game. And then he played great in that Ducks game. I don't know why the analysis paralysis or the math department gets involved. I believe most people, logical people in this, well, I don't know there's probably a lot of doomsdays in here, but I would say most logical fans, after watching those two games, even the people that were not high on McDermott or really wanted to see him inserted into the lineup, I think even after those two games, that even those people that were kind of like not McDermott people, I think would have been like, all right, I see now the stuff that he could do, why we signed him, and why there's a lot of people that do want to see him play, because he has an impact on the game. He played over 9 minutes in that Anaheim game. I mean, wow. But McDermott has to play way more, and you have to figure out what that fourth line identity is going to be and who's is going to be comprised of, because as of right now, you have, Dowling and that's it, and McDermott. So, like I said, I give a couple guys some looks, see if we have any guys that could plug in and contribute at the NHL level. But if not, you're going to have to find at least a fourth line center, I think, if nobody could fill that role. And I'm sorry, I'm, with the expectations, myself and others, including the management of the team, I can't with a straight face say that I am happy with Dowling as the fourth line center, and it's just unfortunate. Here we go again with injuries. Granted, these are more depth role player injuries, which if you have to pick, you'd rather those types of injuries than to your star players, obviously, but it's still guys you have to now, replace one way or another, whether you go to the depth, you look to make a trade, whatever it is. The fourth line is now non-existent. We're starting from scratch. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. Let me just see what else is even. I'm just so disgusted right now. Completely disgusted. Yeah, it took the Devils over 8 minutes to register a shot. Like, they just came out flat and pretty much looked flat most of the game. Markstrom with some big saves early. Wow, that's two breakaways by Jack. You got to finish one of those. And Markstrom just deserves so much more. So much more. Yeah, I just, let me look at the game stats here. I haven't even looked yet. I'm just disgusted. That was a big third period, and Markstrom was deserted by his team because he deserved much better. Yeah, 22 shots on goal for the Devils, 32 for the Flames, 48.5% in the faceoffs for the Devils, 51.5% for Flames. Devils don't do anything on the power play, 0 for 3. Calgary 0 for 4 on the power play. Devils 22 hits, Calgary with 30. Devils 15 block shots, Calgary 18 block shots. Devils 19 giveaways. Again, a shitload of giveaways, 14 giveaways to the Flames. Devils and Flames both 5 takeaways each, but wow. Just one of those games that we had to find a way to win, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it in third period of the year. McDermott has to play next game. I couldn't agree more. I just talked about it for a couple minutes there. Yeah, I mean, there's just no reason not to. And now with Bastion I mean, the fourth line is non-existent, in my opinion. We are now looking to assemble the best fourth line possible any way we can. And if I had to bet on it, I'm assuming the next game is going to be Dowling, McDermott, and someone else is going to get called up. Wow. Just, it's crazy. In a matter of a week, the fourth line just decimated. Bring Brady to this team. I don't think it's going to happen. You look depressed. Yes, I am. Let's get Mac back in. Absolutely. Big Mac should be in. Power play was trash. Yes, it was. Hallinan would be nice to see. Yeah, I'm a Hallinan proponent. Give the guy a look and let's see. I'm not counting, to Jay Snow's point here, I'm not at this point looking for any sort of major offensive output from the fourth line, but rather a fourth line that could get pucks in, wear other teams down, smash some guys, bring a little snarl, and don't be a liability. Most importantly, do not be a liability and just grind other teams into nothing. Big Mac and Hallinan, yeah. Bastion could go kick rocks for sure. Throw Mac or a hungry AHL guy. Hallinan comes to mind for sure. Yeah. Who are you? I don't know what that is. I still think Curtis was the main reason this team turned around and started winning again. I'm not going to say the main reason at all, but I definitely think he was a spark to the team. Where was this support tonight in the Ozone? No boy. Yeah. No board battles won. Just losing left and right. And Calgary looked like they wanted it more. And it showed in the scoreboard. Over Bastion, I'd rather just play McDermott more games at this point. Well, I think Bastion might have like a broken jaw or something. It was a winnable game, and it's tough not to come up with a point. Hopefully, this isn't a theme. I'm not doomed. I'm not doomsday, Brian. I'm just very upset because they had a very big opportunity here tonight. I still think the team's going to be good. I'll never be a doomsdayer until it's the appropriate time. Like there were certain games towards the end of last year where I was totally a doomsdayer because doomsday was upon us. Doomsday is nowhere near upon us on November 2nd, but definitely cause for concern, and the inconsistency is frustrating, and it drove me to the bottle tonight. The hard stuff. Mac adds spark. Yeah, he does, and I think they need it. And I think because of Bastion being out, you're definitely going to see McDermott the next game. I'd be shocked if you didn't. The problem is that the analytics nerds will never see the value that McDermott brings because you can't calculate everyone playing better when he's around. No, 100%. But I think at some point, Ron, somebody in management or whoever it is has to be like, listen, guys, you guys have a say in a lot of things. Unfortunately, this is one that kind of goes beyond the numbers and graphs. And if you can't watch these couple clips I'm going to show you to advocate for said player being in the lineup, and if you can't understand from showing you the clips, then you're a lost soul, and there's nothing I could do for you, because I understand that the numbers and all the stuff, the charts, the graphs, the metrics, the deep analytics, all of it is not going to be favorably, I'm sure, a lot of the time. But there's certain things that go beyond that, and the Curtis McDermott effect is certainly one of them. And like I said, if you can't show them a 2-minute clip of a couple plays strung together and they don't get it on based on after that, then they're lost souls. Dowling got beat bad 1v1 when covering for pinching Luke. Unlucky bounce. Wait, no, it didn't pull up. Unlucky bounce. Too bad we couldn't get a point tonight. I mean, too bad we didn't get a win tonight. That was just a gutless performance, and we were in there after 2, and they had to come out in the third and take it, and that's what I wanted to see, and we saw nothing. I would have been happy with a loser point. I mean, it's better than getting nothing, but I wouldn't have been happy. I wanted to win this freaking game, and the Devils didn't play like they wanted it. Trade Bastion for Reeves. Devils have a ridiculous 5-game stretch coming. Florida 2, Tampa, Carolina Capitals. You can't lose these games. No, I agree. And the reality is, in the last 6 games, this New Jersey Devils club is 1-5. I mean, that is absolutely atrocious. Come on, guys. I'm calling it for what it is. I thought this was going to be the turnaround after that great performance in Vancouver. Despite the sloppy start tonight, I thought that I really believe that they were going to come out, and I do believe they're a much better team than Calgary. Obviously, I thought they were going to find a way to win that third period and get an ugly win on the road. I mean, that's what it's about. It doesn't always have to be pretty, but find a way to win. And they found a way to lose. They have to play Big Mac. There's no choice at the moment, but we need him to police the game for us a bit. I don't know what Bastion is or what he was doing. He was trying to be a tough guy, and I hate to say it. I mean, he's just not a tough guy. So it's unfortunate. And now I want a legitimate tough guy on the fourth line. His name is Curtis McDermott. And then the other two pieces have to come from preferably within. And by within, I mean in Utica. I'm willing to see Dowling for a couple more games, but at some point I would like, to see what else the organization depth has to offer at the center position for the fourth line. But I definitely would like to see, maybe Hallinan and Mack, something like that. Maybe a Foot appearance, give Foot a couple games maybe to see what he's got. I mean, this is where you got to really give guys their auditions. I mean, we have the depth, so bring guys up and see who's got what. I said the same thing right before they scored, at least get a point. Outshot, out hit, lost in face-off, shit performance. I can't say you're wrong. Trying to just get shots to the net. Yeah, at some point mid-game, I think I said it in the chat. There was a few in here, and I periodically checked in. Calgary was just flinging pucks at net, knowing like we're in a dogfight. It might be a shit goal that's going to win this, and just throw everything towards net. And Kevin Ball stepped up. He flung it towards the net, and Coleman got the tip on it. Johnny Danks, what up, Ace? Love the pod. Thank you, Johnny Danks. Appreciate the super chat. Terrible night to be a Devils fan. Terrible night to be a Devils player. Jacob Markstrom just absolutely deserted by the team in his return to Calgary, and he deserved to get a win. He 100% deserved to get a win. The offense was nowhere to be found. We couldn't finish, and we lose, the way we did. It's really unfortunate, and my heart goes out to Markstrom because he had a shutout. He was following up a shutout with 55 more minutes of shutout hockey. So we're talking about Markstrom just came off of roughly, they subtract the time on the bench for delayed penalties. So it had to be probably 114-minute or so shutout streak, give or take, that Markstrom had going on, and was 5 minutes away from back-to-back shutouts. I mean, somebody give this man some respect. Just two great performances in a row, and the team just completely deserted him tonight. Black Atron, Aces, and I'll never be a doomsdayer until it's time. When doomsday is truly upon us, I'll be the first to say it's now doomsday. This is not doomsday. This is just depression and a squandered opportunity and a painful loss. There's no way Calgary, who's literally in a full-on rebuild, should shut you out. 100%. 100%. I mean, really, there's no way we should have lost the game. But to lose and get shut out, pathetic. The Devils had a conservative approach, defend near their own goal and counterattack. The Flames attacked like 90% of the game, and it paid off in the end. Devils had tons of chances. Tons. They just couldn't bury one. I mean, wow, the two breakaways for Jack. Oh, my God. Bastion came in to become a heavy bag for Lomberg. He looked like a huge pussy just taking shots to the face. Yeah, it was bad. Greetings from Chile, a Leafs fan. Hello, Rodolfo. Thank you for joining us. Don't know how you ended up here, but cheers to you, Rodolfo, in Chile, a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Our D-men are not good shooters at all. I mean, listen, when Dougie uncorks one, we all know the bomb he has. Kovacevic has proven to have a somewhat accurate, tippable, or rebound-friendly type shot. He gets them on net and nice and low where someone could either tip it, it could, hit a skate, hit the goalie and come out for a rebound. I do like Kovacevic's shot. Even Dougie looks bad. I think I just seen a stat that Dougie has the most turnovers and giveaways right now. That's pretty bad. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I forgot to add Dougie has the most in the entire league. Yeah. Do you believe Stankoven on Dallas plays less than Jack, but plays a way more physical game? I mean, listen, it's not everybody has that innate, physicality gene in them. Felt like both teams were playing neutral zone trap for 2.5 periods. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of space in the neutral zone clogging it up because that's the game plan to give the Devils a hard time. I mean, and smart teams will play that type of game. And the Flames, to their credit, played good enough to get a win tonight. And the Devils just didn't have it. It was just one of those ugly, ugly games. But I really had hope after two that they were going to come out fired up in the third and find a way to get one, but they couldn't do it. Zero execution with the puck, defense and goaltending good. Team can't handle the heavy forecheck and smash mouth game pace. Number one problem all year as far as the team play. And that's the thing. I do believe this team, like I've mentioned in the previous live or a different video, I can't remember, but when teams want to run or gun, I mean, the Devils, that just plays right into their hands. They are a team that would love to play run and gun with you because we got some big guns. But when teams make it ugly and, either heavy forechecking, clogging up the neutral zone, trying to force you to try to, bring it down low and really work. Those are the games that they seem to struggle. If Mac is the first guy coming off the bus, you got to think the guys are hyped to play. Sucks that he's in the press box. Well, I think we're going to see him in Edmonton. Late to this one, but the effort was nowhere near good enough. Can't play Markey on either goal. Siegs on goal number 2 has to make the decision faster. He chose to cut the pass way too late there. Well, I think he definitely got kind of frozen on that second one. But honestly, I don't. At this point, it's who even cares. The game-winning goal was the first one. That's all they needed. But yeah, he did get kind of frozen on the 2-on-1 on the second goal, but it didn't friggin' matter. We scored 0 goals. That first one was the backbreaker, and the only solace I could find in it is that even on a very off night for the entire team, minus the goaltender, which the entire team was off, minus Markey, that they still were in a winnable game late into the game. They were still in a winnable game, but that offense just disappeared on us tonight. Just never had the feeling the Devils were going to get one. Just felt like a matter of time before they let one in. I thought we were going to get one. I think Tatar, somebody had a crazy chance down low in the third. Shit happens. What's up, Matt? Shit happens. Solid D, solid net minding, shit offense. Yeah. Jack is supposed to be a superstar, but never scores on a breakaway when the game is on the line. I don't think that's a fair criticism. I would say he's definitely, struggled in this area recently. But I wouldn't say that it's, a crime. Everyone's just in the "what have you done for me lately" phase of sports fandom, and it seems like there's a lot of Devils fans that also live in that world. And it's like, and by "what have you done for me lately," it's like, what have you done for me in the previous game that just ended 20 minutes ago? And that's, I guess, just part of it. But it would be nice for him to finish on one of those two. To see him finish on one of the 2 goals would be nice. You can't go 0 for 2 on breakaways. Devils love to play down to their comp. They need a wake-up call that this isn't the OHL or the NCAA or whatever. This is the NHL. There are no easy games, even when you have much more talent. Agreed. And this is the thing that when people are like, oh, we only beat bad teams. It's like, in the end, there's really only a few teams I would really call, or maybe even a couple that I would call bad. And even bad teams can win games. Every dog has their day. These are professional athletes. This is the NHL. Every team has some of the best players in the world in it, no matter how you slice it. And so teams aren't just laying down and dying for you. And that's the point. This is the NHL. You're not going to just win because on paper you should. That's not how it works. Thoughts on Bastian getting 17 pims after Lomberg's cheap shot attempt at a hit on Cotter? Just give 5 each. I couldn't agree more. It always seems like we're getting the shit end of the stick on these types of exchanges. Like someone does something questionably dirty. The same shit happened to Dylan, actually. What game was that, Dylan? Maybe it was the Detroit game. He got hit himself, and it was a questionable, should have been a boarding. Definitely could have been a boarding, but either way, he was like, okay, no call. He gets up, wants to fight the dude, and he gets an instigator there as well. So the instigator seems like that's coming back with a vengeance, and they're always looking for a way to kind of make guys skittish to fight. And I feel like another attempt at cutting down on fighting, which is already way down in the past however many years in the league. I mean, fighting is way, way down overall. But now maybe an attempt to completely eliminate it, they're now giving out instigators like nothing. And now guys are going to be like, shit, maybe I shouldn't fight because if I get this instigator, my coach might kill me for giving the team a power play. I really think that's part of the thing going behind this. But either way, after the 2-on-1 and that dangerous hit on Cotter, you can't call an instigator there. The guy was a willing combatant. They dropped the mitts. Just give them 5 each. There's no reason to put a team shorthanded on that. I hate that, obviously. It's terrible. And like I said, I do think it's an anti-fighting measure to make guys really be hesitant about it. Now it seems like if the guys don't drop the gloves like completely simultaneously in orchestra, like, would you like to fight, sir? And then they remove the mitts and they drop them down at the same time. That's the only way you're not going to get an instigator, because if you are the aggressor, they're giving you the extra penalty. Crazy. Completely crazy. I don't know what's wrong with Jack. He's scared to death to get touched. I mean, listen, he doesn't want to get touched, and maybe it has to do with that shoulder, the surgically repaired shoulder. Maybe, that's a thing kind of on his mind. Like if I get rocked, it could be definitely another extended period of time not playing. A Utica record is now 0-0. Wow. 0-8. 0-8 for Utica. That's brutal. The Devils drafted all small, skilled guys. That's been my knock on the team for years and years, and that's why, I so desperately wanted to see, gritty sandpaper type guys, and that's why I was ecstatic when I heard the Fitz interview with heavier, edgier, more violent, because I believe that's just what the doctor ordered. If I'm the coach, this team doesn't leave the locker room until they line up and apologize to Markey one by one, and I'm only half kidding. As a team, there definitely should have been an apology. You ruined the guy's homecoming. I'm dying to see if they played. I think they did. Spalding mentioned on the broadcast. I'm sure they did like a nice, little video for Markstrom when he came back. I'm always interested to see what, the types of stuff they put in it. But Dougie is a problem eating all that cap space. I think you keep Markstrom in to bounce back from a great game to keep his confidence. Oh, Steven, I'm not even remotely considering starting Allen in Edmonton. I'm 1,000% sending Markstrom back in there. What's the reason for the emergency episode? It's not really an emergency episode. It's just more of a somber mood SST, but please spare me your doomsday stuff. Puck Gobo, thank you, sir. I just saw this. What's your favorite snack? My favorite snack, man. I think that's situational as well. My favorite snack for is this like movie theater? I guess not movie theater snacks. I like all kinds of junk food, Puck Gobo. I love ice cream. Who doesn't love ice cream? I mean, God, Ben and Jerry's pints just go down so quickly these days. It's effortless. It's just effortless to put down Ben and Jerry's pints. But I enjoy a good brownie, a nice fudgy moist brownie with a nice glass of milk. Love me some brownies. Chips. Who doesn't like chips, right? Chips are delicious. So many different types of good chips in the world today. I'm trying to think what other kinds of snacks. It just depends. I like all kinds of snacks. I would consider cereal a snack too. Little Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Apple Jacks. That's a good snack always. I'd go ice cream, chips, cereal. Is pizza? If we're considering pizza a snack, I mean, that's obviously up there. That's definitely up there as well. But thank you very much, Puck Gobo. I'm curious, what are your favorite snacks? Except we are a borderline playoff team. Too many soft players with big long-term contracts. I have to disagree there, John, as well. I don't think we're borderline. What's going on, Brian? 90 people watching. There's barely 20 likes. Don't be stingy, people. Hit the like button. Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, guys, hit the like button for me on a depression night. Hit the like button. It takes half a second of your life. If we're dealing with these problems by January, then doomsday guys have a reason to feel that way. I mean, listen, even January, depending on the severity of, what's going on at the time, January is still somewhat early. Not early, but yeah, I guess January, you're halfway there. I mean, that's fair. If we're not showing any sort of consistency by January, I would say that that's fair. D-men are not shooters. Oh, someone said something about that before. Where were you after the Canucks game? Get your unserious out of here, loser. Yeah, the Doomsdayers had a game off. We trounced Vancouver and they went into hiding. They were like, shit, maybe this team is good. Jay Snow just shooting at clouds at this point. Ace, do you think Dougie will get traded at the deadline if he stays inconsistent? Probably not. No, I don't think they're, No, I don't think Dougie plays out his whole contract here, but I don't think they're trading him this year at all. He's been doing that since the first intermission. Dougie has a no trade and not happening. We wish. Nicely done. Calgary beat us in the heavier, edgier, more violent category, which is so bad. Feeling this one really bad tonight. Yeah, so am I. I mean, listen, we played pretty poorly. It was still a scoreless game going into the third. That's all you could ask for. Go out there and will yourself to a victory. Someone step up and find a way to make it happen. They found a way to not make it happen. And what would have been, it is just crazy. Just think, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but think about how differently all of you would feel right now had the Devils won that game 1-0. Just think about it, the difference of a win versus a loss in this particular game, right? We're now 1-5 in our last 6. We still haven't strung together 3 wins since forever ago, right? 3 consecutive wins and a completely wasted Markstrom outing versus potentially, if in a 1-0 win scenario, back-to-back shutouts from Markstrom, the first 3-game win streak in forever. heading into Edmonton 2-0 on the Western Canada road trip with the chance to sweep it. I mean, it's just such a huge swing game. The difference between a win and a loss tonight is just immense. Just an immense swing between a win and a loss, and they had to win one period. Go out there and win one period, and they failed to do it. And that's it. And that's it. Nobody wanted it enough. Honestly, if Mac even just plays 3 minutes and spends the rest of the night yelling at the team on the bench to stop sleepwalking through shifts, it might be worth it. Well, I don't know how much he's really doing that, but I think his presence alone, there's something to be said for that. That's the problem. The coaching staff need to start doing something about Dougie at this point. They should have rocked the same line from the VA game. Don't tinker. No, I'm talking to Ron. He's a hockey genius. Imagine thinking we are heavier, edgier, and more violent with Jackhughes, Brat Palat, and Dougie on our team. Mac is only one guy. John Woodson, man, I don't even know. You are just like you are might be the president of the Doomsdayers and a troll at this point. I mean, Brendan Dillon, Kovacevic, Cotter, Nason. Yes, the Devils are heavier, edgier, more violent, my man. They indeed are heavier, edgier, more violent than last year. Not every guy is going to be a physical player. And yeah, you name some guys that are not heavier, edgier, more violent. Great. But you're completely ignoring all the guys that are. It's just insanely frustrating to see this team fall into the same traps over and over. At this point, you could trick the ancient Greeks into thinking you're an oracle by nailing their results. Dylan's penalty. Well, okay, thank you for the correction. But same bullshit, right? In the end, it's the same thing. They're giving someone an extra 2 minutes in the process of the whole fight to give guys pause to kind of start fights or look to start fights. Yes, essentially the penalty they call is semantics, in my opinion. It's a 2-minute minor that your team is going to be shorthanded for as a result of you getting into a fight. Fitzgerald is the mastermind. What a team is assembled. Oh, yeah, see, SST, I just can't with you, man. You're just in the exact moment. It's childish. Oh, the refs were a joke tonight, but to be honest, after the Devils' effort, I don't want to give them the excuse. No, neither do I. They deserve to lose this game. Team loses and Bashan loses a fight and breaks his jaw. Time for Chatham to blame Bashan for everything. No, I'm not blaming him for everything, and I'm not blaming him for this loss at all. But now we must figure out what this fourth line is going to consist of because we're almost back to the drawing board at this point. After the game, I was feeling like shit. Good teams win these games, and I'm sick of inconsistency. I did think I was overreacting, though, but I guess the fan base is with me because a lot of the fan base is going to overreact. I mean, that's just what everyone does. But they didn't get – it's not like they got, dominated and blown out. Like, those are discouraging. Obviously, this loss is discouraging, too. But imagine you were the Canucks the other night when we beat them 6-0. Like, that's like a demoralizing, is the sky falling scenario. Now, I think the Canucks will be fine, but losing game 6-0 on your home ice, like those are the losses that you really got to do some soul searching. And I mean, the Devils have to do soul searching as well, because this was a game that was there for the taking and they had to find a way to win it, especially with Markstrom in his return to Calgary and him giving them just, amazing goaltending for 55 minutes, perfection. Curious to talk about new look Devils versus the dead puck era 90s teams, skill and toughness. How do you think that plays out, Ace? I'm surprised you even have to ask me, to be honest. I think the Devils, maybe not every team. Put it this way. If you're talking about like the 95, any of the Devils Cup years, there was a few years in between that maybe it might be more of a thing, but probably not. For the most part, I'm always going to side with the old school guys, because I do believe that they are just much tougher, and not just tough, like tough and skilled. Like guys like Bobby Holik, Randy McKay, guys like Billy Guerin, like these were rugged ass men. Like we haven't seen guys like this on the Devils in quite a while. I put Nason somewhat in. I definitely give Nason the kind of old school player attribute, if you will. But for the Devils, for the past bunch of years, they've been few and far between. And I always think with the type of team the Devils are today versus any one of those good Devils teams from back then, especially with, the defense being as solid as it was and Marty and Ned, I think the old school Devils teams speed bag any of the more recent Devils teams easily. And I think a guy like John Madden would absolutely be smothering and frustrating the ever-loving shit out of Jack Hughes. Why did Bass not get his glove off against a known fighter? Don't push someone around if it's a fighting situation, being afraid to take the instigator. If you're afraid of the instigator, don't go after him. Whatever it was, that was a pathetic outing in the fighting department. David Chimes, the only reasonable Devils fan I know. Oh, sorry, David. I just saw this. Best post-game show. Keep it up. Thank you very much for the super, David. Appreciate you. Depressing night. Depressing night for the boys. This is a kind of, therapeutic, at least for me. I'm sure for some of you it's also therapeutic, but it was painful, and Markey deserved better. But shout out to you, David Chimes. Thank you very much. Appreciate you watching and commiserating with us all on this fine Friday night, fall 2024, as the New Jersey Devils fall 3-0 in Jacob Markstrom's return to Calgary. And my God, absolutely terrible. But thank you, David. NJ Swamp Fox, so much for the good vibes from Vancouver. Rango looked really good. Yeah, he's going to look good. I think he hit a post, right? He hit a post or a crossbar. Yeah, Sharon Govich became, a new guy in Calgary. Anton can't get here soon enough. I think it's in reference to Salayev. I do also notice the Devils fall apart when they feel pressured to win, for example. We played Keith's former team. We got stomped. We wanted to win for our new goalie against former team. We got stomped. I wouldn't say they got stomped. They got outplayed, and Calgary found a way to win at the very end of the game. I mean, but I wouldn't say they got stomped. It was a scoreless game through 55 minutes or so of play. Yeah, man, Markstrom. This is what a. Yeah, they should just feel terrible that's what they gave. That's the support they gave Markstrom tonight in a stellar outing. I think pizza may be a meal. Well, Ron, pizza could certainly be a meal, but it could also be a snack. I could put McDonald's in that same category. Shit, I could put most things in the snack category. I am a good boy today. I do feel like the pressure, and I do feel like they feel the pressure as well during home games. The whole thing of not playing well at home is a great mystery. That's something they're going to have to figure out soon, because having those stinkers on home ice is just terrible. Then again, I ate pulled pork at like 12 a.m. the other day as a snack, so maybe it is a snack. Exactly, Ron. It could be a meal, but it could also be a snack. Brownie, Ben & Jerry's, it is. Oh, man, there's so many Ben & Jerry's flavors I like. Half-baked is a good one. I think there's like some of these other themed ones, like what is it? The Americone Dream, the one with Jimmy Fallon on it, with the Tonight Dough. There's so many good ones. Man, Ben & Jerry's, those shits are expensive too. I'm pretty sure they're like $7 or $8 now. Probably in convenience stores, maybe $7.50. Did I remember like not that long ago you could get like, I feel like they were like 2 for $6. Like 2 for $6, like not that long ago. Inflation, a motherfucker. If the team won, SST would be sleeping. Richard Tompkins, I couldn't agree with you more there. I mean, nothing functions as adrenaline for him more than shit like this to come in here and flame us all. Even a 1-0 win, and I'm on the moon right now. Yeah, show us you can win these games, and you're clearly not on. Exactly. At 1-0 win, I would have been jacked. Plot, if you break the name down, pay a lot. Ooh. Gigantic now if you lose to Edmonton, you go home with 2 points. Not good enough. Exactly. Basically, they need to win for it to remotely be salvaged. I mean, heading into the trip, I said I wanted to sweep. Obviously, that 4 points was basically the least acceptable outcome. 5 points would be very good, and 6 points would have been phenomenal. Well, 6 points is out the window now, as is 5. And so your best case scenario now is to go home with 4 points, and you must make it happen tonight. If Hughes scores breakaway, it's a different game. Obviously, if he cashed either one of those, it's a completely different game, but he didn't. If any of the other couple decent chances we had went in and we took a 1-0 lead, I feel like it all would have played out differently, but that wasn't the case, and we lost in the closing moments of the game. John Woodson won't be happy to the Devils are 20, Cam Jansen's goalie included. Yeah, obviously that can't happen. John Woodson's wife cheats on him. Ace, did you watch the whole leak interview on Spit and Chicklets? I did. It was okay. Sometimes I feel like the guys, while I do enjoy their conversation and banter amongst each other, sometimes I feel like they're not the greatest interviewers because I think they just end up talking about random shit a lot. But, overall it was a good interview. But it wasn't, the type of interview I would like to either conduct myself or watch. I like more insight into, I don't know, specific moment stuff, games. I mean, I did ask him a couple towards the end, but I felt like a lot of it leading up to that was just kind of all over the place and a lot about his personal life, which is fine. But I always think at least for myself, try to tie it back to something a little more specific. I don't know, but it was all right. I prayed we trade Brat for someone mean, but nobody wanted to. We have better players than a couple years ago. I was happy with the defense for most of the game. Jack must be traded. The second he's gotten, the Devils will win the cup. Come on, man. Come on, man. 90s era, this Devils team probably beats, but the 2000s dynasty teams rolls this team and probably runs the entire modern NHL. We had some all-timers in the early 2000s. Yeah, I mean, listen, all three cups were won by, three of the greatest players of all time. All three on the NHL 100 list when it came out years ago, and that's, Marty, Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermayer. You're never going to see that cast of guys ever again. And so any team with those three guys on it, which lasted for years, I would tend to put my money on them over pretty much any team you're going to throw out there, because you have two all-time great defensemen and the greatest goaltender of all time in Marty Brodeur. So there's not any teams that I'm picking to beat those groups. I mean, those teams were all time. Devils are doing amazing given their tight schedule no other NHL team has had since they went to Prague and now being on a Western Canada road trip. I mean, Kobe, I'm not going to be that. I think you're being a little kind. 1-5 in your last 5 doesn't scream amazing to me. And it just sucks because, I would be feeling very different had they won this game, this ugly game, even 1-0. I'd be feeling very different than I do right now. Hippie night at the Rock Thursday. Oh boy, that'd be interesting. I feel like sometimes when I leave the Rock, it smells like hippie night after every game outside. If you guys get my drift. It's not doomsday. It's more of this team has to prove it, especially after last year, and they look just as inconsistent as last year. Yeah, I can't say you're wrong. The consistency has been an issue, and they need to have that 3-game winning streak at some point. Not being able to win 3 in a row is really a, telling issue. Get Jack off my team. I think that's crazy. Ace, do you have any appreciation for Markey's puck handling skills? No. I mean, they're but I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they're better than Vanacek and a lot of other goalies, but that's not saying too much in my opinion. Sometimes he looks better than others, but sometimes he gives me a heart attack. It looks like he thinks he's Marty out there, but I guess by, I don't know, the average goaltender, he's a little bit better. But when you grow up watching the great Martin Brodeur back there, referred to as the third defenseman by all the defensemen who ever played with him, as well as opposing forwards, and that's the measuring stick. That's truly great puck handling. So I don't know. Sometimes I get nervous when I see Markstrom out. I'm like, oh shit, get back in. For me, the 2000-2001 Devils, as painful as that season is to relive, is one of the best teams ever iced in hockey history. I mean, they were pretty lethal. And John Van Beesbrook was the backup goalie. I always liked Beezer when he was on the Panthers when I was a kid. And unfortunately, we couldn't beat the Avs in that finals to get a cup for Beezer. It's really unfortunate. And the 2001 season is just, will forever be probably the single most painful result for me in my Devils fandom, because of the fact that we were up 3-2 in the finals. I was at Game 6 at Continental Arena. Devils had the chance to skate the cup. Cup is in the building. They lose Game 6. They go on the road back out to Denver. for Game 7 and lose the series. I mean, that one would have been amazing. Would have been back-to-back cups to the Devils. It would have given that core group 4 cups when it was all said and done, as opposed to the 3. And that's a real big that was a really big failure to capitalize there. Devils have not had more than 2 home or road games in a row at a time, which is also hard for consistency and confidence. Listen, I'm not going to make excuses for them. They did have, coming off the global series, they did have a very packed schedule, not a lot of practice time, yada, yada. But in the end, you must find a way to win an ugly game on the road like tonight. Tied 0-0 after 2, you must find a way to go to that third period and get a win. Period. Given everything that was at stake, staying perfect on the road trip would have been 3 wins in a row to, get Markstrom a win in his return to Calgary. There was so many things and so many reasons to really want to get that win, and they just could not win a third period. Don't be sad it's not the end of the season yet. Oh, it's nowhere near the end of the season, and I still think this is going to be a good team. If the Devils can get 3-4 points in Sunrise next week, that'll give the Devils an emotional boost. Yeah, well, that's a big if. I mean, the Panthers aren't an easy team, obviously, as you know. Devils falling apart, it strikes me more as laziness than falling apart under pressure. They would have collapsed versus the Rags in the playoffs if they couldn't handle pressure. I mean, at this point, that Rangers series in the playoffs seems like a lifetime ago in some ways. I think they just have nights where they don't feel like turning it on and it never gets turned on. Okay, well, this is the NHL. You can't have nights that you don't turn it on. You must turn it on every night. Igor Shesterkin is the modern-day NHL version of Dan Marino. He's going to be so good every year but not win a championship. How old is Shesterkin? Let me see. I don't know if he stays a Ranger forever. He's 28. Interesting. He could play maybe another, 8 to 10 years? That one's a coin flip, I think. I think Shesterkin winning a championship would be like a 50-50. Calgary was so much better at getting out of their zone, one quick pass, and they were out of their zone. I mean, listen, the Devils held them to not a ton of great chances. I mean, they kept a lot of shots to the outside, a lot of low-quality shots they took, but they just found a way to win when it mattered. Just throw it on net, and they got that tip. And 2 Devils connect to hand us a bad loss. They played 55 minutes of solid defense and great goaltending. Offense just couldn't get going. Let in a lucky-ass double tip, and that's the game. That's hockey. It's an 82-game schedule. Yeah, it's just a lost opportunity. I'm depressed. But, it's bad. Ace looks like he's hiding from the FBI. No, I'm hiding from the Doomsdayers. I liked when Holy said they practiced the way they played, and practice was sometimes harder than playing the game. I miss old school hockey. So, Luke, it's funny. I did an interview with Scott Gomez about, I don't know, earlier in the year, maybe 6-7 months ago. And he literally said almost the same exact thing verbatim. If you haven't seen the interview, check it out on the channel, interview with Scott Gomez. And he said something. He basically said almost the exact same things that Holik said, was that Scott Stevens dictated the way practices were run and the pace of a practice. And he said the same exact stuff. He said, our practices were so intense and so hard that often the games were easier than practice. And that was because Scott Stevens and some of those other veterans practiced extremely hard. And for that reason, they said, you practice hard, play hard. And Gomez literally almost to a T said the same exact stuff that Holik said on there. So if you haven't seen that interview, check it out. He talks a lot about the good old days. And I think, modern NHL teams should probably maybe adopt some of the old school practices, because I do think some of them help teams win. Reminder that 2001 team went on a 6-game losing streak of November of 2000, by the way. 6-8-3 the week before Thanksgiving. It may have been hippie night for our players the night before. Flames backcheck kill the Devils. Devils need to stop with the shots in the circle on the power play. And the other team has 4 players in front of the net. More shots from the point and screen. Yeah, I would like to just see people just let it rip from anywhere and hope for the best. We've seen other teams do it to us, and we've seen the Devils do it on occasion where it hits a defenseman, it deflects something, bang, it's in the back of the net. They all can't be pretty. Thoughts on all shit libs on Twitter trying to cancel Nico. I saw official Devils account deleted the pic. Best to ignore these idiots. I honestly just, hate when people look for reasons to be outraged, right? And so in some of and I didn't even see the whole thing, but I saw the pictures of the costumes. Then I saw people, I didn't see too many comments, but I just saw a couple things of like references to it where people were trying to, I think conjure up things that weren't there. I do think these people are idiots and they could, they should talk to themselves or in their own echo chambers. Like if you're trying to make a big deal out of a Halloween costume like that, I mean, give me a break. Now I've seen Halloween costumes, pretty much every year that could be interpreted as offensive or something. Nico's costume was not one of those. And so for all the people looking to stir the pot and cause controversy, they're clowns. Let's just all breathe. The offense had a lapse. It's a new system. D looks solid. Goaltending looking better. If we're not in third or better by Thanksgiving, then hit the panic button. I think that's fair. If they don't feel like turning it on, then that is a culture issue that Fitz needs to fix immediately. No, I agree. It's there. There is no off nights. This is the show, and you guys were on a 4-game slide. I mean, the bullshit got to stop. It's time to put up or shut up. Do you think the Rags are going to give Igor that $12 million? Is that a confirmed number that he wants? I mean, at this point, I think they really don't have a choice. I mean, I think it's an ultra greedy money grab move by him. And it's an unfortunate thing that the Rangers, I think, are going to have to take on the chin. I think they're going to have to pay him. And what other option do they have? It seems like he kind of has them by the nuts. Like, what are they going to do? We only gave up one high danger shot attempt all night. Blue line is great. Just no transition game against heavy forecheck and problems executing against teams that playing us heavy. Exactly. If you want to muck it up and grind it out against the Devils, your chances of winning are exponentially better than you trying to play a run and gun game with them, because the Devils thrive in that environment. And they got to find, that was the kind of one of the biggest question marks I had about this team, long term, is that can you win these type of ugly games when teams want to make it ugly and clog the neutral zone and heavy forecheck and just make it one of those ugly games? Can you find a way to win those games? And tonight, to me, was a very sad third period. The game was there for the taking, and they just failed to capitalize, and they didn't get it done. The effort was not enough. Man, it is crazy. I do think the whole game would have been different if Jack buried one of those if he buried one of those breakaways. I think it really would have changed the whole complexion of the game, but he didn't, and the game played out the way it did. And it's sad. Markstrom in his return home gave them a hell of an effort. What did Nico do? I think people were trying to make a drama out of, like, he had a Halloween costume, I believe, of like a hippie, and somehow, somehow someone was offended and complained about it, like people like to do about nonsense stuff. David, yeah, to your point, the first goal was what, 2 bounces, 3. The second goal I was unhappy about, though. Siegs got a challenge faster. Yeah, but I can't even be outraged about it, even if Siegs played it terribly, because it didn't matter. We scored nothing. We scored absolutely nothing. I think it's hard to compare those great Devils teams to this team, since those past teams were proven. When they got into slumps, no one doubted they'd get out of it. After last year, everyone was on edge. Again, yeah, I agree. That's a very experienced veteran team. I don't think at any point ever question the mental fortitude or the ability to bounce back and rise above for that group because of the legends we had on the team. This team is not that team. To your point, Luke, they're not. They are a younger, inexperienced group with a lot to prove. And tonight, they proved that they didn't have what it took to win one in a gutsy performance in the third period. Same old. Igor is 1,000 times better than Swayman, in my opinion, but Igor can't do everything for the team. I mean, that's any goalie, right? You could only do what you could do. But, so far, Swayman holding out for all that money, he doesn't seem like he's worth it. My gut feeling is for Edmonton, Markey's going to have a monster game. We could squeak out a 2-1. I hope we go back to another offensive explosion. After scoring 6 apiece versus Anaheim at home and then 6 in Vancouver, we followed up with 0 goals. I mean, that's really disappointing. You get a six-pack, and then a shutout. That's terrible. People have it so good they can complain about Nico's costumes. The people on Twitter were probably just Rags fans. Did they really take down the pick of his costume. That's pathetic. If people are saying it, I'm sure it's true, and that's sad. I'm not an elite hockey player, but if it were me, I'd go all in on trying to win while I could. Like if I were Igor, I'd do whatever it took to get on the Oilers, get a cup, then make your money. Yeah, that's too much finessing. If he want, he could stay in New York on what seems like they'll be a competitive team for a while, at least somewhat competitive, and he could be in New York City and he could make a ton of dough. He dressed as a hippie. Suppose that answers what was one of the things in that magical Swiss chocolate he had this summer. The old team slumping. This team went through coaches like John Woodson goes through diapers. If Twitter was around in 2000, you'd have seen some historic garbage takes. Oh, I bet you would have. You're probably right about that. But yeah, painful night. They just couldn't dig deep and find a way to win that third period, and it's frustrating because despite all the nonsense and everything that happened through the first 40 minutes, the game was there for the taking. It was there for the taking, and they failed to take it, and it really does suck. Holik said Fatorik needed to be fired. I know Claude Julien was apparently soft, and a player supposedly shot a puck at him during practice. Yeah, no one liked firing coaches more than Lou. Lou just he'd be like, goodbye, pack your shit, you're out of here. I don't think the Oilers are the team you want to be on right now. Their blue line is absolutely broken. Oilers game should be a run and gun, so maybe it plays into the Devils' favor. Well, I mean, they already got a huge break in the fact that Connor McDavid, is not going to be playing. So, we already got a huge break. No McDavid for the Oilers, and the Devils just got to really play that game like it's the biggest game of the season, because now, after starting so well in Vancouver, you now look at the possibility of coming home with only 2 points. That can't happen. That absolutely cannot happen. What do you think of Luke Hughes' game today? He made it, nothing too drastic either way. I thought he made some good plays, some bad plays. Was it him or was it, I think he got bodied a couple times where he got separated from the puck, and it led to not maybe a scoring chance, but a continued possession for the Flames. Yeah, man, damn it. This game was huge. This game was huge. I honestly don't see them going on as deep of a run as they did last season. Are you talking about the Oilers? I mean, to pick someone to go back to the finals 2 years in a row, it's hard to do that in this league. Is David still out? Yes, he is. Maybe they have 2 cheat codes on the team. The best goalie in the world probably makes that defense look a lot better. They almost won with Stuart Skinner. Claude Julien, it was John Madden who shot the puck at his head. If it were me, I'd trade Madden for that. But Lou knew what he was doing. Is Nico still... Oh, let me see. I haven't looked at the stats after tonight's games. Yeah, it looks like he's, as of, the last time they updated NHL.com, he's still tied on there. Yeah, I was expecting Nico to somehow win this one for us late. I thought he was going to pull some magic. Social media wasn't around then, but fan forums were, so we heard it then too. How does Igor handle going from the Rangers defense to the Oilers? Does he fall apart? Does he save them? We'll never know, but it's an interesting thought experiment. I think he's just going to end up signing with the Rangers. I think they're just going to pay him. Oilers play Flames on Sunday. It would be a good barometer game for Monday. I always love making hypothetical scenarios regarding QBs and goalies because there's so many possibilities. It's true. I was a newbie fan question. I was wondering, some people were kind of super down on Markstrom at points, but I was wondering if you remember any notable games where Brodeur was poor, just as example. I mean, Marty has the most career losses in the NHL. He also has the most career games played and most career wins. So he basically owns all of the goalie records. I'm trying to think. I mean, he had tons of bad games over the course of his career. He played a ton of games every single year for nearly 20 years. And so you could look to a ton of games where he played poorly. I don't know. You want like a specific one where it was like, damn, Marty played bad. I mean, I don't like this game, but I would say probably that there's probably a couple of the games in that 2001 finals that would be, games he would love to replay if I had to pick one. Let's see. Yeah, game 6 of the 2001 Stanley Cup Finals. I would say that's a game Marty played badly that will stick out as I could never recall a game like a regular season game. If there's not high stakes on the line, it's going to be hard for me to recall a random game where I thought Marty was bad, but he wasn't good in that game 6 of the 2001 Finals, and that was a potential cup clinching game. That would be the one that sticks out to me the most. I used to post in Fire and Ice blog, HF boards, and NJ Devs. I've seen all the crazy. Oh yeah, I didn't really post in any of those, but I would just I enjoyed reading it. I didn't have the energy to really post on them, but I would skim them all here and there. It is crazy how the evolution of the internet and things kind of morphed from those forums and types of things to more. There's now there's the Facebook groups and all these other platforms, and so the game has definitely changed. My favorite hypothetical to torture myself with is, what if Gomer was still in the Devils for 09 playoffs? He was still really good at the time. Maybe they don't collapse like they did. It's possible. I mean, that game 7 will forever be one of the most stunning losses I've ever witnessed live. I mean, to collapse the way they did, given the stakes on home ice, those 2 quick goals to be eliminated from the NHL playoffs was painful. There was never a time in my life where I didn't think Marty would. There was never a time in my life where I didn't think Marty would pan out. We were spoiled to have him in those Devils teams. I mean, understatement of the century. Like I said a couple minutes ago, 3 top 100 NHL players of all time. And you may never see that again on the New Jersey Devils. I mean, it's pretty rare, even league wide. The Pens had their run. I believe the next time they do this list, Marc-Andre Fleury would be on that list. And so, as would Sidney Crosby and Geno Malkin. So you're talking about that nucleus that won those cups had 3, top 100 players of all time. And we were spoiled as fans. And 07-08, there was a stinker versus the Penguins. He was in net for 6-0 or something. I remember because my aunt had just moved to Pittsburgh and switched teams. Gloated. She was a turncoat. I wonder if Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, Hellebuck, Igor would be down to play 70 games in a season if they were given full autonomy. I would believe that the majority of them would. 2, 3, maybe even all of them. Maybe even every guy on that list would definitely want the net. What about Broders in Game 7 against Carolina in 2009? I mean, it wasn't the finals, but yeah, that wasn't. Let me see. What were the stats in that game? Yeah, I don't remember all the goals vividly, but I didn't think maybe he didn't have a great game, but I don't think it was what I would call a bad game, like I would call that Avalanche game. I blame Brent Sutter for the Carolina series. I never understood Lou's fascination with him. Lou, I don't know. Did he have a fascination with him? I don't know if it was a fascination per se. Brodeur gave up 6 goals in a game 15 times in his long career. Had to look it up. Never gave up 7. Yeah, I wouldn't think that he would even be put in the position to give up 7. That'd be, he didn't get pulled a ton, but I do remember him getting pulled here and there.
I hated Sutter, just uncreative, boring man whose lineup decisions were bailed out by Marty, plus stripping Eliash of the C. That was a super... Eliash getting stripped of the C was a very bizarre kind of time. King Henrik gave up 8 to NJD on 12-12-08. That's an interesting stat. Jake Ottinger is overrated and overpaid. 8 past Lundqvist. Did any other goalie play 70-plus games in a season, or was it only Marty? 70, I believe there'd be other guys that played. Let's see. Dominic Hasek started in the 60s a bunch of times. And in 97, 98, Hasek started 72. Let's see. I'm sure there's a bunch of these guys got in that world. It was a different league. Patrick Waugh in the 60s a bunch of times, but never 70. He got in the 60s a bunch. Let's see. Who else do I got? Eddie the Eagle started 70 for the Hawks several times. Wow, 3 times. 3 times he got 70 starts. And then he was in the 60s a few times in Dallas. Yeah, it looks like they were limiting him. Let's see who else we got. Yeah, it wasn't like super commonplace, but the top guys were capable of doing it. Yeah, Cujo got like 3 or 4 seasons of 70 plus. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. All the top. Really, when you look at the top guys back then, they were just playing a shitload. And I understand they have all these math guys and all this shit, but there's no reason why they can't play. Like, oh, the game has changed so much. It didn't change that much. I'm not saying they got to play 75, but people act like even 60 games now is crazy, and it's not that. It's not crazy. Sorry, I'm just not buying what you're selling. Let me see. What do we got here? 8 past Lundqvist was huge on HF. 90% of Isles fans want Lou gone. That's interesting. Brent stripped to see off Eliash in a disrespectful manner. I can't say you're wrong. That Stahl shot was not Marty's fault. It was a perfect shot, and Stahl beat him. Eliash didn't want to see. I think that's kind of strange, though. Heard it rumored that Eliash was never all that comfortable to see, but still to strip him of it instead of him giving it up is humiliating to maybe the most important forward in Devils history. I would say he is the most important forward in Devils history, and it is kind of messed up. Remember when Belfour blamed NyQuil for the bad performance in Game 1 of the 2000 final? I will never forget it, and I'm pretty sure for Game 2, also in New Jersey, I'm pretty sure someone behind the net for Game 2 of the Cup Finals that year had a huge sign that said Sudafed Ed slept here or something like that. I'm pretty sure it said Sudafed Ed slept here after he talked about the NyQuil or whatever it was. But they wrote Sudafed Ed slept here. And I remember laughing my ass off as a teenager when I saw that sign, because that's like great trolling for 2000. Archer Zerbe used to play over 70. Don't ask how I know that off the top of my head. Yeah, he's a guy that would never come to my mind when I'm thinking about guys that played a ton, but it makes sense. He was a good goalie in a time where they let guys play a shit ton. Yeah, Urbe he had 75 for the Canes one year, 76, and he also had 73 for the Sharks. So a 3-time 70-plus game starter. Archie Urbe, come on down. You are the next goalie on the list of old school guys who played a lot of games. Yo, I wonder, what was your favorite NJD intro hype movie? I've seen some, including the guy that turns out to be a devil and summons the Rock. It would be one that was like from years ago. I don't know. I'm not impressed by anything new. I hate to be that guy, but it's true. Everything back in the day was better. The goal horn was better. Our arena was better. The goal song was better. Rock and Roll Part 2. The music they played at the arena was better, and the intro videos were better. Throwback on that one, Luke. Yeah, Sudafed Ed slept here. Makes you feel kind of bad for new goalies. Marty's records will never be beaten as he played way too many games, and teams won't allow goalies to play now. Absolutely, but I'll tell you this, Brandon. Even if they let the goalies play every game, they're not touching Marty's records. Marty has 691 wins. To put it into perspective, okay? If a goalie had 17, count that, 17, as in the number after 16, as in the number after 15. So if they had 15, 16, 17 seasons, 17 consecutive seasons of 40 wins, 17 times 40 is 680. If you started a career winning 40 games every season for 17 straight seasons, now I don't have to point out to you, obviously, how ridiculous it is to assume anyone's going to have a 17-year career. That's probably quadruple the average NHL career, if not more. That might be even 5 times the average NHL career. If you start a career with 17 consecutive 40-win seasons, you'd have 680 wins, and you would need to win 12 games in the 18th season to beat Marty's records. It will never happen, even if they let the guys play every single game. And then obviously with the fact that most guys are starting 6-year games less, that record might be one of the most unbreakable in sports that, mainstream sports people wouldn't think about us when they talk about like unbreakable records. But Marty Brodeur's wins total is definitely, in my opinion, a record that is truly unbreakable. Once that'll never be broken. Martin Brodeur's 24 playoff shutouts. So I don't think that'll be broken either, but that has a way better chance of being broken than the wins record. And I think the chance of that being broken is highly unlikely as well. Carolina just owns the Devils in the playoffs for whatever reason. Maybe the curse of Shane Willis. Shane Willis, another man that was completely knocked into another galaxy by Scott Stevens, as was Ron Francis. And 07, 08, 7 played 70 plus and 8 played 60 plus. Yeah, there you go. I personally am a believer in the tandem theory. I will never be. You saw it in 08, 09, whenever Marty got hurt and Weeks couldn't fill the gap because he had played like 3 games in 2 years. They had to go to Clementon to save the season. Yeah, but what does that prove? When a guy like Marty's playing at that level for that many games, you let him do it. Nowadays, it is not uncommon for backups to outperform starters in a 2-1 tandem situation because the defense will subconsciously play better on the backup and give them easier games. I could see that to some extent. But who was the backup in yeah, I don't know. Some of these tandems, you see both the guys think that they're the greatest thing of all time, like Swayman and Olmark. No one will ever have the longevity Marty had. He's entirely unique in that elite into his 40s. Yeah, I agree. He was so good for so long. Guys aren't even going to have 17-year careers. Never mind be a 40 guy that wins 40 games for each of those years. It's not possible. And save the starters for the marquee opponents. Rock and roll, part 2, sadly now guilty pleasure, but in that arena mode with the crowd chant hype, and listening to KLF version lately makes me miss Devils. Last year, Baswa had better numbers than Hellebuck, and Stars had better numbers than Bobrovsky. Yeah, but it's a much smaller sample size as well. What's a tune that gets you most hype for hockey? I don't know, old rock stuff, probably. One of my favorites is, I don't know why this one always pops in my head when this topic comes up, but Bush Machine Head is, to me, I'll forever associate that with, old early memories of going to Devils games. Bush Machine Head was a absolute classic banger in the old arena, and every time I hear it, it brings me back to that time, or those years. Kiprusoff was a horse of the Flames too. The Kipper definitely was. Oh man, bring back Yanni. Oh man. Wow, Yanni standing in motion. Yeah, those are the intro videos that get me jacked to this day whenever I come across them or even hear the song. I'm gonna have to make that video about the old school arena music at some point. for sure. I definitely. I wonder if those are out there. I don't know if I've ever looked them up. If anyone has the old school, those pump up videos that they played in the arena before the game. And yeah, I think my favorite one is definitely with the Yanni track on it. Swayman and Omar bugged me for their performative nonsense after games. Oh, you didn't like the big bromance with the whatever the hell they did, the hug and the thing. I think it's a little corny as well. But I'm sure I would love it if I was a Bruins fan. And so, it is what it is. Their bromance is now over. And both of them are probably going to be proven to be completely overpaid goalies that were a product of a solid Boston Bruins team for a few years there. And we're going to see how it shakes out, as the year goes on. But I wouldn't have wanted to pay either one of those guys that kind of money. Wah had only one less playoff shutout, played in 32 more playoff games. Yeah, Patrick Waugh, 4-time Cup champ and the legend of the sport. For instance, the Smith hasn't really faced any quality shots this season, while Ottinger is always left to the Wolves in Dallas. Ace, I love your streams to death. 100% the most underrated hockey YouTuber. Oh, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Glenn Hall started in net 502 consecutive games, unbreakable. Oh, that's certainly unbreakable. That's over 6 straight seasons. How is that even possible? That's insane, actually. Yeah, same, Luke. I didn't find the sway mark activities cute whatsoever. I don't think anyone other than Bruins fans found it to be cute. Personally, for me, Hasek is the bar none best goalie of all time, but he wasn't the starter on his last cup run like Marty was. I think I put Hasek 3. I think I go Marty, Wah, Hasek. But as long as I can't disrespect or really argue. I mean, I could argue, but I can't say someone's list is bad as long as your top 3 goalies are those guys, Marty, Hasek, and Wah. In any order, I could accept that. I will forever die on the hill of the great Martin Brodeur is the greatest of all time for a variety of reasons that I'm going to spare everyone going on that rant tonight. But as long as that's your top 3, I have no beef. I'll agree to disagree with your order, but as long as those are your top 3, then I will say, okay, the list is valid. Bruins are a system team. Well, I thought that Ullmark, and I told everyone, and I even made videos about it, at least in regards to Ullmark, because a lot of people, when the Markstrom rumors were heating up, were saying he's washed and blah, 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 and I want Ullmark. And I said then my biggest concern with Ullmark is I believe he's a product of playing on a very good Boston Bruins team, and I believe that I'll be proven correct in time. Organ music better than techno. I do appreciate a little techno here and there, but overall, I would much rather the old school arena rock, and some of the organ music is cool. Some of the techno is obnoxious, but I do like some of it. I think it just depends. We need a Steve Dangle Ace debate one day. I don't think that'll ever happen. Is it strange Lou hired Waugh? I don't think so. I think Lou was looking to kind of make a splash. And I think anytime you hire a guy like Patrick Waugh, a fiery guy like that who's been around the game for so long and a legendary name, I think it excited the Islanders fan base for sure. Who knows how that situation is going to kind of age as time goes on and whatever else. Obviously, Waugh's not the only, he's not going to be the only element to determine whether that organization is successful or not in the coming years. But I do think most fan bases, if you were looking for a spark of some kind for your GM Lou Lamoriello to go out there and hire a guy like Waugh, I mean, I have a good friend that was a good friend that's an Islanders fan, and when the signing happened, he was jacked up for it. For me, it's Hasek, Marty, Waugh. Like I said, I can't flame anyone for a list as long as it consists of those 3 guys. Glenn Hall, Terry Sawchuk, Jacques Plante, those guys are made of steel. What legends? I respect what they did in the position and everything, but it's totally different era of hockey before my time, and I just think the whole sport was different. So it's hard for me to, mix those type of guys in these conversations. And I feel like, there's probably only a handful of people on planet Earth in the year 2024 that would even be considered a person to speak on a matter like this, talking about bridging the super old school guys with the new school. And one of those guys is Stan Fischler. Shout out to Stan Fischler, just covering hockey for eternity. I don't even know. I think he's been covering hockey for like 70 years. but he's seen firsthand all these errors and all these goalies. And so anyone outside of him or someone like him, which again, there's not too many of them left, in my opinion, can't even speak on the matter of that era versus now because we didn't see it live. You could only learn so much from footage, but Stan Fischler was there. Guy was a staple. Colby, that'll be a tough one for Ace because the Leafs own the Devils. How do the Leafs own the Devils, Brandon? You need to get an education, my friend. The Devils own the Leafs in the playoffs when it mattered. I mean, granted, we might be losing some regular seasons to them now, but who cares about that? Regular season games? That's nothing to me. Regular season games. The Devils bounced the Leafs out of the playoffs in both 2000 and 2001. I'm trying to think was there any other ones that I can remember? No, I think that's it. Back-to-back years, we knocked them out of the playoffs when they had good teams of Matt Sundin, Ty Domi, Darcy Tucker, Cujo, and Net. They had some good teams. And if it wasn't for the Devils in their way, they may have, made it to a final one year. But the Devils were in the Eastern Conference and 2 years in a row bounced them. And so I'm sorry, Brandon. I will say that historically speaking, the only stage that matters is the playoffs. And the Devils are 2-0 in playoff series against the Leafs in 2000 and 2001. And in 2000, the Devils went on all the way to win the Cup. And in 2001, unfortunately, won the conference again, made it to the finals, lost to Patrick Waugh and the Avalanche in Game 7 in Colorado after leading the series 3-2. And I talked about that, briefly earlier as well. One of the most depressing endings of a season for me personally, and I think for a lot of Devils fans. But, it is what it is. I don't even think Glenn Hall wore a master in that 502 game streak. It was the 50s and 60s. Some of those guys were nuts playing goalie without a mask. Isles wouldn't have made either conference final if both were regular NHL seasons. So Colby, the 70 years I might be rounding up by decade, but I think it's at least 60 years. Glenn Hall, 1975 inductee into the Hockey Hall of Fame, was notorious for his self-imposed pregame dressing room ritual of vomiting to relax his stomach. Oh my God. Where are you guys pulling these facts from? What puts Hasek over Marty for me is that he played most of his career behind a much worse defense and put up better save percentage in most years, including 5 out of 6 years at .930, something Marty never did. Yeah, I mean, listen, you could use that as a a factoid or a point to argue. And I will say, Marty being probably the greatest puck handling goaltender of all time, led to the league making a trapezoid to basically negate his amazing puck handling skills. And so I would say that element alone, Marty literally revolutionized the game. And the defensemen, Dano and a bunch of the guys always talk about how Marty literally could have, prolonged their careers because of his ability to get the puck out on his own. And in some cases, make insane passes to guys that led to goals. But definitely cut down on guys getting smashed behind the net because he would just come out and just grab that puck from wherever and send it up. One of my pet peeves is when fans of poverty franchises immediately say, "Oh, you're flaunting past success," when they don't have any at any point in time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what can a Maple Leafs fan really say outside of a truly old one? You people haven't won anything in forever. Peak Hasek, longevity of Marty, and playoff Waugh. Now, look, I'm a Devils fan through and through. If a goalie's got to play for my life, I'm picking Marty, homer to the max. Well, I am too. The puck handling is a good point. If you remember, he was probably the smartest goalie in terms of hockey IQ to ever play. No, absolutely. Marty was a very heady hockey player, and he definitely understood the game at a level that most of the other players, regardless of position, did not. But you hear all the former defensemen, even forwards, guys constantly praise Marty for his ability to get the puck out, push it up the ice, clear it sometimes on penalty kills, whatever it was. Marty's puck handling was an X factor in a lot of games. Teams were demoralized from dumping it in a lot because you weren't dumping it in on Marty. He would just come out, sometimes stab it out of the air. I mean, it's crazy. To watch Marty puck handle for all those years, the way he did, and that's a testament to Marty as well. A lot of the detractors would be like, "Oh, he didn't face any shots per game." A lot of the reasons, or a huge reason anyway, that a lot of times teams struggle to generate a lot of shots against the Devils is because of Marty. He himself helped keep the shot totals down. Teams can't generate when they're trying to dump and chase, and Marty's coming out, grabbing him in the corner and firing either up the boards or firing up the middle, tape-to-tape passes to D-men or forwards. I mean, banking it off the glass. Like he was just an absolute wizard at handling the puck. And that's a credit to him. And like I said, that was a big part in why a lot of games he didn't face a lot of shots, because his puck handling skill kept teams from getting more offensive chances and shots. And so I can't penalize him for that. It's like, yeah, you didn't face as many shots as some other guys because you were so damn good that you negated a lot of their chances single-handedly. My dad watched the old school goalies and they were wrecks. Sawchuk was a heavy drinker. Hall had to stop the game to throw up, and Plant would knit to calm his nerves. I think out of the three goalie gods, there's no correct answer. It's a fun discussion to have to me. Yeah, absolutely. Scorpion save, another legend. Oh, Ace, how is the progress on getting the emulator set up? Wondering when the NHL 2002 stream happens. Oh, I might grab my buddy. Like I think he was chatting on here before. I might try to do something with him because he's very techie, so he could show you guys a bunch of cool shit that I can't, in terms of all these programs and capabilities, available to play some of these old games. But it would probably be an NHL 95 stream, if anything, or an NHL Open Ice, the 2-on-2 challenge, which essentially was a very like NBA Jam version of an NHL version of NBA Jam. One of my favorite video games of all time, and I'm definitely going to do a video about it at some point. But NHL Open Ice, absolutely classic. If Marty beat Wall in the 2001 Stanley Cup Finals and got a Conn Smythe, there'd be a lot less of a debate amongst the big three. But alas, yeah, that's a swing cup, right? That's head-to-head. So if Marty had won, he would have 4 cups and Wall would have 3. But instead, Wall has 4 and Marty has 3. And Wall has, does he have 2 or 3 Conn Smythes? I forget. Let me look that up. He has either 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure he won in 86. I think he's a 3-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner, which is crazy. Yeah, 3 Conn Smythe Trophy wins. My God. I mean, it's hard, for Patrick Roy fans. That's a big point. I do think because a lot of people kind of spread the credit around for the Devils' success to Marty as well as the Scots, Stevens and Niedermeyer. I do think that probably hurt him and wasn't. It was kind of a thing that I think prevented him from ever getting one of those Conn Smythes. Hasek will be known to be well known to be fiercely competitive even during practices. I think most of the goalies that are on top, and they've said it about Markstrom as well, and Marty was the same way. They don't like getting scored on in practice. They don't ever like not being dominant, and they take it personally. Rangers will never be able to match the success Islanders and Devils had. I think it's hard nowadays for any pro sports team to really have these long kind of runs. The 80s Islanders, with that's like they're up there with the Oilers in terms of just winning for so long. The Devils won 3 cups in 9 years with that core they had. It's hard to keep nucleuses together for a long time and have that level of success in a short period of time. You just don't see it too often, period. Hasek was, I said that already. Hasek was a freak, but didn't have the longevity or deep playoff runs because of his supporting cast. Yeah, I mean, he dragged that Lindy Ruff coached Buffalo team to the finals before they fell to Brett Hull and the Stars. And like, I'm trying to think who else, like big names Buffalo had. I mean, they had Mike Pekka, and I'm trying to think, like my brain right now. They weren't a loaded team by any stretch. Great point. I think that's on the Marty puck handling stuff. All 3 were at the time unique. Waugh invented the butterfly style. Hasek flopped around like a bluefin tuna out of water, and Marty was some kind of hybrid freak. Yeah, Hasek was very unorthodox and would just kind of roll around and flail up arms and legs and somehow find a way to stop the puck. Very entertaining to watch. if you want to learn to be a goalie, I would say the best one to watch and try to emulate is Waugh, just because his style is ubiquitous now. I do think eventually we're going to start seeing some more guys that are a little more free form. But it is interesting that for years and years, a butterfly or some sort of version of it was like the default kind of system that all these goalies were playing. To put it into perspective, the Rangers were 40 years removed from their 1940 Cup when Isles won their first. Whew. Blades of Steel too. I've emulated SNES before. It's pretty easy to set up. Maybe, but I think we'll see. There's a bunch of great games from back in the day. Brandon, love the stream, Ace. I'll see you on Monday. Hopefully a W, or I'll be on here in a really bad mood. Need to win. Let's go Devils. Let's go Devils, man. Have a good weekend. Apparently there was a between the Lightning and Wild game, and there was 2 pucks on the ice. What? I'm going to need to know more about that. I don't know. You would not be. I don't know. You would not be able to manage to win a cup from 41 to 67. There are only 6 teams. Like, yeah, like those cups don't even count to me, in my opinion. Like, what kind of cup is that? I love watching the old school no helmet goalies look like snakes in their crouch. Underrated athletic ability. Those guys were nuts. Juan 86 as a rookie gave the Habs a cup almost single-handedly. They were not supposed to win. First season, Claude Lemieux became Mr. Clutch. Wouldn't argue too hard if anyone calls him the, I guess, GOAT. Yeah, GOAT. A player the Devils should have got, Miroslav Shatan. I mean, would have made a lot of Shatan jerseys in the crowd, huh? Satan, Satan on a Devils jersey. I mean, marketing genius there. Alexei Zitnik, LOL. That's all I can remember. Yeah, I mean, who was on that team? I mean, my God, now I got to look it up. I'm sure I'm missing a couple decent guys, but they weren't a loaded roster by any stretch. Oh, my God, yeah. Wait, what the fuck am I looking at here? Yeah, Shatan, Mike Pekka, Jason Woolley, Zitnik, Vaclav Rada, Jeff Sanderson, Matthew Barnaby, Plant, Schmelik, Wayne Primu, Eric Rasmussen, Rob Ray, Stu Barnes. Yeah, Joe Juno. Oh my God. Roman Ender. Yeah, like this team. Wow. I mean, it's really impressive that Hasek dragged that team to the finals, because when you really look at it, that's not really what I would call an impressive roster or a team you would pick, to go to the finals. Rumor has it Lou wanted Shatan more than once, but he didn't want to sign. Even though the Devils Cup seemed like ages ago, the last Canadian Cup was before the Devils' first. Wild to think of it that way. I'm from Buffalo, and man, Curtis Brown, Stu Barnes. If the Cup win photos are stored on microfilm, maybe don't brag about those. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, I'm going to take a leak. Yeah, I'm over this. I'm super depressed. Any closing comments or questions, anything, throw it out there. I'll be back in about a minute and a half, and I'm going to wrap this thing up. So any closing comments, questions, whatever you got, throw it out there. I'll be right back, and then we'll finish up here on this horrific night where the New Jersey Devils just find a way to lose in a game that was there for the taking after 2 periods, and it's depressing, but oh, man. What a night. What a night. All right, I'll be back in about 90 seconds or so. And going to finish it up. Let me finish my beverage here. All right, I'll be back in a minute and a half. Any closing comments, questions, whatever, throw it out there. I'll be right back wrapping this thing up. And what a terrible loss.
I always wash my hands. Come on. Hey, boys, if it comes down to when we break up the core, who you picking and why? Either way, good night. Let's go, Devils. As always, Nate bashed it in. The refs don't like us. Utica lost 8-1 tonight, 0-8 in the season. Oh, man. Terrible. That's terrible news as well, but can only move on to Edmonton. Even if tonight is a big blow, I'm still keeping the Vancouver fresh in the mind of showing what we can be. No, for sure. They need a big one in Edmonton, and I'm going to say this is, for those of you that have been watching, I can't call anything a must-win when it's not truly a must-win. But again, this is as close as a must-win as you could have in early November, because to get 2 points on the Western road trip would be a disaster following, a 4-game slide with 1 win at home against a bad Ducks team as the only thing in between. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Please give me the thumbs up on the way out if you can. I'd really appreciate that. Also, if you could actually comment in the comment section, not in the chat, if you could drop a comment in the comment section of the video, the live video as well, that'd be great. And painful one, guys. They brought me back to the sauce tonight, back to the Jack Daniels, and hopefully we see a much better performance Monday night in Edmonton. And I hope that we see Jacob Markstrom, because anything less would be uncivilized and uncalled for. It got to be Markstrom right back in there. He had 115 minutes or so of shutout hockey. I mean, wow. Oh, wow. Thank you all for watching. Painful night for the Devils. They lose 3-0 in Calgary. The dagger comes on the first goal from Pickles, a deflection in front by Blake Holman off of a Kevin Ball shot. It doesn't get any more painful than that. And that's it. They found a way to claim a loss on a painful night. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.